Yeah, there's this survivor of mine. She was rescued when she was 13. I told her father not to marry her. They married her when she was 14. Now she's 17. She has 2 children. Her husband did not know that she's a traffic survivor. Now, when he got to know, he divorced her.
Oh my God.
He has ganja. He has drugs. Now she has 2 children and she's 17. We bought her 6 goats.
6 goats, okay.
Goats. Yeah. But how long can she sustain with those goats?
Hi friends, welcome to the Aspire and Acquire podcast. I'm your host Sandeep Suri. Join me for listening to some incredible stories about some of the best professionals from very diverse fields like combat flying, robotic surgery, dancing, tea farming, journalism, deep sea diving, and so on. These accomplished professionals are not just outstanding in their jobs, but also have unique stories to share with us. We have tried to make the show truly global by having these guests from different parts of the world. So without further ado, let's dive into the session. Human trafficking is a global crisis that impacts millions of people. It's a crime that knows no boundaries, transcending borders, cultures, and socioeconomic statuses. The International Labour Organization estimated there were approximately 25 million victims of human trafficking worldwide in 2016. It is one of the darkest and most pressing issues of our time. In today's episode of Aspire and Acquire, we will embark on a journey to understand the complex and harrowing world of human trafficking. We will explore various forms of human trafficking. Along the way, we will examine the social, economic, and political factors that contribute to the persistence of human trafficking. Pallabi Ghosh, our guest in this episode of Aspire and Acquire, is an anti-trafficking activist, ethnographer, and researcher, specializing in human forced labor, trafficking, and migration-related conflicts. Pallabi has actively participated in anti-trafficking raids across India and rescued over 10,000 children, youth, and women. These children were survivors of social evils like child marriage, child labor, organ trafficking, and prostitution. Pallabi is the founder of Impact and Dialogue Foundation, also called I.D.F. Started with the objective to change society through regular interventions, I.D.F aims to create an impact by reaching out to grassroots level communities by empowering them through different livelihood opportunities. Pallabi has worked across India and the US as an activist, sharing insights about the effects of human trafficking. Pallabi has been extensively covered by the media as one of the emerging voices against human trafficking, gender-based violence, and migration. She has also delivered keynote speeches on how migration plays a pivotal role in exploiting laborers, including a few international seminars and conferences. These events facilitated experiential learning and networking for leaders like Pallabi, spearheading the global effort to end juvenile trafficking and forced labor. So, join us on this important journey as we shine a light on human trafficking, one of the darkest corners of our lives. So let's dive into the show. Hi, to start with, welcome to the show, Pallabi.
Hello.
At the outset, we would like to begin with your own story. How did you start your journey in the fight against human trafficking, and what inspired you to take that action?
Actually, it was long back. So I saw an incident of a missing child in West Bengal. And that was the first instant, you can say the first point from where the story started. I saw a child missing and I wanted to find out what happens to missing children, looking all around, asking police officers. And it took me 10 years actually to connect the dots because at that point of time, nobody knew what was human trafficking. I'm talking to you about early 2000.
Right.
I did not know what is human trafficking. By 2011, 10-11, I got to know what is human trafficking. And post that, I reached out to a lot of people. I wrote to the ministry. trying to figure out if I could work for them and do something about it. But nothing substantial happened. An organization hired me because I knew the local languages, saw my extensive experience in research. Yeah, that's how I will say that, my journey started.
So when you really wanted the support from the government agencies and other corporates, that time nobody came forward to really help you.
No, in fact, I did not reach out to anybody, to be very honest, because I wanted to understand what happens. I wanted to be in rescuing people. So that point of time, I was not reaching out to anybody in terms of help. Right now, also, in order to ask for help, you need certain registrations, the compliances, in our country.
All right.
For that, I have to have the compliances in order to reach out to people. For reaching out to corporates, you need to have a CSR. For reaching out to government agencies, you need a lot of compliances, Niti Ayogs and all. And the organization is just 2.5 years old. I have just got my tax exemptions. So yeah, of course, it is. There's a lot of documentation that involves. Of course, once the documentation is done, you can reach out to people.
So let's talk about some of the misconceptions people have about human trafficking. And how do you educate others to combat these misconceptions?
See, a lot of people do not actually know what is human trafficking. That is the biggest problem. The whole concept of human trafficking is just discussed in rooms where academicians come, activists are there. People who work in this sector are only functioning. General public are not aware about it. That is the biggest problem. When I started working in human trafficking, nobody knew. Of course, a little bit of police officers over the years started understanding what is human trafficking. There are law enforcement, there are government officials who work in this, who actually works in this. Like people working in drugs and crimes know about it. People working in missing children squad know about it. But people, general public had no idea about human trafficking. When we say that we rescued girls from red light areas, they thought that it is the traffic signals. So, that is the biggest challenge right now I have. So that's why I am speaking out to everybody all out in the open to educate people that what is human trafficking. A lot of people think that in human trafficking, people go by themselves. They fall in love, they run away, they go by themselves, they got married. But it's not like that, Because I work in remote villages of West Bengal, Assam, Jharkhand, a little bit, Odisha, Andhra, and all, I have seen that the biggest challenge is people are lured, influenced. You are lured for a better life, for a better job, for love, for marriage. So it's always luring and influencing. Of course, you go, you accompany. But the first thing is that you are given hopes. You are given a dream. It is possible for everybody to fall into the dream. Even you and I can fall into the dream, especially when we don't have 2 square meals a day. We are under poverty. We are seeing climate change. We are seeing floods. So, the problem is that all the people I have met across the last 2 decades, I've seen people thinking that, what is human trafficking? They always speak so casually, thinking that she has gone by herself, she has fallen in love, she has run away. They don't even try to understand why that person is run away, why that person is fallen in love, the root cause. Yeah. Why will somebody want to stay away from their village in a faraway city like Bangalore or Bombay or Chennai? Why? In a different state with a different language, different food habits, culture. So, that is where we need to address. That's the thing we need to talk about rather than blaming somebody that, you went by your own will, you went by your own choice.
Yeah, you're spot on. It is so difficult to make people understand that how serious this issue is. And how do you work to overcome these challenges?
See, when I started working, I was into rescuing people. But over the years, what I realized is rescuing doesn't help. Because if you don't come up with any empowerment thing, any rehabilitation, they are bound to go back to their old way of working. And main problem is that prevention. Now, see, if there are thousands of people being trafficked, you can only rescue 1 or 2 depending on the coordination, networking, collaboration, right information. Everything it depends. You cannot rescue people unless all these things are in direct connection. So that is the biggest challenge I have. So that is why I feel my biggest, can say, focus has been prevention. Because the day I started talking to every random people, it has helped by leaps and bounds. People are aware, people are alert now. Because when people are alert, they will know that, okay, this is how a wrong number can make us fall prey. This is how live streaming can, victimize us. This is how social media helps. There are a lot of ways in which you need to address people.
Yeah, I can't even fathom with the challenges, you must be facing day in and day out in rescuing these people. So, switching our attention now to collaboration with law enforcement agencies, how do you really do that, and how other organizations are helping you to identify and rescue victims of human trafficking? And what role does technology play in this process, if at all it does play?
The law enforcement plays a very, very big role. The reason is that without law enforcement, I cannot go to rescue people. I have to go with law enforcement to rescue because I am not authorized. I am not authorized to go. I have to go with law enforcement agencies. That's
And
the
how
important
easy
thing.
is that to get
If you,
help from the law enforcement agencies? Is it easy or it's quite a task?
it is difficult. It is difficult because in our country like India, the law enforcement agencies are busy doing other things apart from helping the common public. You can't blame the law enforcement agencies because the law enforcement agencies is all the time either in arrangement or in VIP duty.
Yeah.
Law enforcement is always with, all these dharnas, arrangements, something or the other. If a common public goes to the law enforcement agencies, it's not an easy thing.
So true. They are actually busy managing within courts, the high profile visits and high profile arrangements that they have to worry about.
Yes. That is the biggest focus of the law enforcement agencies. So that's a problem. Apart from organizations, yeah, they will inform you from the source area that there is a case of trafficking or something. So that way, the organizations try to inform you. And that is one thing. And technology plays a very, very big role. Very, very big role. Because with technology now, people are being trafficked through social media.
Right.
People are trafficked through social medias. There are online. You see, Google Pay. You can buy people through Google Pay. So there are a lot of things that are, technology
Seriously,
is.
through these
Yeah,
digital
go ahead.
payments, one can be bought. Wow.
Yes, absolutely. So the technology plays a big role. With technology, things have escalated in a huge extent. People are being trafficked through Discord. There is an app called Discord. People are trafficked through Facebook, Instagram. Because once a person is trafficked, the social media account is deleted. There is no evidence. Earlier, people used to be trafficked through phones, but right now it has gone to a bigger and broader level.
So, Pallabi, I also want to talk about the responsibility of we as citizens. What strategies do you have in place to raise
So this is the
awareness
problem.
with common people?
Yeah, I do a lot of things. I do community outreach. I do door-to-door conversation. I do trainings with educational institutions. I work with slums. I do everything under what I can because
Sure.
I feel prevention is the only way.
And does it really help?
Yes, it helps. Now my podcast has started helping so much. The other day, somebody called me and told me they saw a child in the train, and there were some people looking at the child, but they were looking at the child. So these other people thought that this couple is their child, so they don't pick up the child. Children are understanding that Facebook and Instagram are becoming difficult for them, and they are kind of they can create problems, so they are also becoming careful. Multiple things.
What are some of the unique challenges in combating child abuse trafficking compared to other forms of human trafficking, and how do you address these challenges?
See, in trafficking, unless and until you are trafficked, until you reach the last point of exploitation, you don't even know that you are sold. So that is what it makes it unique. Because in abuse, you will find the person immediately being abused.
Sure.
But in trafficking, what happens unless and until you reach the destination from where exploitation starts, you don't even know that you are trafficked. You are in an illusion that you are traveling, you are having a gala time, you're going. So
Yeah, they always show you a dream, right? And based on that dream, you tend to walk with them. Yeah. So, can you share something where a child or someone got in touch with you directly or indirectly and you heard about this and then you started kind of marching towards him or her to rescue?
Yes, there are so many children that talk to the informer, and the informer comes to me, and then I talk to the child, and the child says that. So there was this incident of Delhi only. There was this child who called me from a place, from an informer's phone, and said that she was kept confined. And I tried to verify the place, did Reiki, and then I reached with local police, and we could rescue the child. There are so many children who tell the informers. Informers are people who visit the area as a customer. And the informer somewhere gets on and calls us, and we also talk to the child and tell them that, we are coming to rescue you. And we go and we rescue them. So there are thousands of cases like this where the child has had a chat with me and told me. Recently, I met 30 survivors in West Bengal whom I have rescued. So there are many cases where children directly call me.
So, after you have rescued these children or people, what's next for them? How do they really come back to the mainstream?
And to be very honest, there is no way they come to the mainstream. There is so much of ostracization and stigma around trafficking that, they never come to the mainstream. That is the reason I'm trying to make them survivor leaders.
I know you have rehabilitation center and stuff like that, right? So is that not the way to kind of get them back to mainstream?
There are ways, but the society is so difficult. The society is so difficult. They don't accept anybody. And mainstreaming is a big challenge because the taboo and the stigma remains all the time. So we try to give them some kind of livelihood, make them empowered, because the biggest stigma comes from the family.
Yeah, and I always feel heal and recovery is the biggest challenge. Once you have recovered these children from being the targets, that's of course is a big deal. But the bigger deal is also to get them back into business and try to get them healed and recovered. Which I hear you clearly that it's not easy. Yeah.
Especially because, they have gone through years of abuse, being sold off multiple times, traumatic, they are in trauma and all of this. So, of course, it's very, very challenging, very, very challenging. And on top of that, the community. People say that counsel the survivors. More than counseling the survivors, the community counseling is important.
Sure.
The community needs to be counseled.
Well said.
Because the community castigates them. There are instances of community telling that, okay, child was trafficked, now ration will not be given to their family. This child was trafficked, their bad family, now they cannot take water from the village well.
Oh my God.
This kind of things the community starts. So how is it possible to mainstream them? Because first of all, they have this trauma of being sold off and trafficked. Okay. On top of that, when they are sent home, these are the kind of problems that they face on a daily basis. It's definitely very, very challenging.
Really sad, yeah. So switching gears now, Pallabi, tell us about some of the warning signs that a child may be at risk of being trafficked. So proactively, you must be getting some signs or reactive sometimes. And how can we raise an awareness about these signs in our communities?
See, the first thing is that right now, the biggest challenge that I face is that children are so much addicted to their phones. They are so much addicted to their phones, which has resulted in them being trafficked. They're highly addicted to their phones, children. They're very, very addicted to their phones. And they talk to people. Now there are these filters where, a dark person can become a fair person in Snapchats and all of this. And then people can, fake identities, like fake profiles they create.
Yeah.
So, nowadays, the biggest issue is Facebook, Instagram, all this social media
Social
channels.
media.
I personally feel the biggest threat, if parents are not talking to the children, if there is no emotional contact between the parents and the children, then it's a big threat. The parents need to spend substantial amount of their time with their children. I am talking about substantial time, not in terms of being with them, but also in talking with them, having conversations with them. That's very, very important. Also, you need to be aware where your child is going, what your child is doing, who your child friends. Don't post a lot of pictures of your child in social media, where he's coming, where she's going from, schools, address of the schools and all that. Do not believe people. Also, make sure to tell your child, not to show off a lot of things, because I've seen a lot of children showing expensive things, which ends them up getting into some kind of, uh, so there are many things that can comparison. Your friend has a phone, you don't have a phone, and you are trying to find out some methods, to get that phone and end up talking to people who are involved in crime. Violence in families nowadays. Depression is also leading people to get trafficked.
Yeah.
Depression plays a big role in getting people trafficked. Then there is another new trend that's coming. Domestic violence is resulting in people leaving their homes and getting trafficked. So many things. There are hundreds of ways in which people are getting trafficked now.
Yeah.
And the sad part is that, there is no hard and there are no fixated 10, 20 pointers, you can say that. Right now, though, I would say the biggest threat to your child's life is the phone. Try to keep your child
is the phone.
Is the phone.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Try to keep your child away from the phone as much as possible.
Yeah, that's an important point. And, we as parents sometimes do have this tendency of handing over the phones, if you're busy with something, so that the child could be busy on the screen. So, which is not the right thing. Talking about policy level changes, what policy changes or reforms do you advocate for to better protect children from trafficking and abuse? And how can we work to hold perpetrators accountable for their actions?
The biggest focus should be, to make sure conviction happens. In trafficking cases, conviction doesn't happen due to the delay in the case hearing. The day when the FIR is registered to the day when the trial goes in court, it is a very long process. And by the time it goes in court, the survivor or the victim forgets what happened to. And the place from where they're rescued, maybe it was some atrocities where it was the language was different. They go home, come back home, they forget the language. The first thing should be the conviction should be very fast track. Trafficking cases, it should be fast track. That's what I feel. In trafficking cases, it should be very, very fast track. Cases should be done. Victim compensations should be given properly and in time. I remember my survivors getting 5 lakhs compensation, out of which they will get 90,000 in their bank account and rest 4 lakh 10,000 as a fixed deposit. So how does that help?
Right.
So there are multiple things.
Yeah. Talking about survivors now, Pallabi, how do you work with survivors of child abuse trafficking to amplify their voices and advocate for change? And what strategies do you have in place to ensure that their experiences are centered in the fight against trafficking?
See, the first thing is that we do a couple of things. One is creating survivor leaders so that they can ensure that there is no trafficking happening in their villages. They go, they talk to people, they do awareness so that they inform people that we were trafficked from this village, nobody else will be trafficked from this village henceforth.
And usually these traffic captains or leaders, are what age?
The age group, when they're trafficked, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Okay.
That's the age group.
So the onus is really put on them that, they start telling about, human trafficking.
We try to give them some sort of livelihood.
Okay.
That is what will, because see, anyone having financial independence will not have, I would say, will not face violence, will raise the voice. So that's what we try to do. As much as possible, try to get them connected to, like, for example, I'll tell you, in a side, I have a convent where 20 girls stay. I pay for their food and accommodation. They do 1 year of stitching where they learn English and basic computer. After they pass out, we give them a sewing machine.
Wow. That's
This is what I'm
outstanding.
doing.
That's really, really
Yeah. In West Bengal, I have 20 survivors of sex trafficking. There also, I'm trying to replicate this model. In Assam, I'm doing it for the last 5 years. So we tell anybody if they're interested, if they can sponsor a child every month. Once they sponsor, we give them a tax exemption also. So we do different things. We try to. My main objective is to give them financial independence. I personally feel because that is the only way to bring them in the mainstream.
Just asking for listeners, in case somebody's keen, how much does it cost an individual if somebody is interested to sponsor a child? Usually, what's the expense like?
For a month, it is 2,500. See, my objective is, of course, to educate them, but to make them skilled, because education will not guarantee a job, by the way, with today's scenario. You need to have skilled people who can actually earn a living for themselves. And these girls are not going to leave their villages. The reason is that they trusted somebody, they came to the village, they came to the city, and they were sold off. So, they want to be in their own village. So you have to come up with livelihood planning in their own village. So that is something that I look forward to.
I want to talk about the socioeconomic factors which are kind of connected to this whole issue of human trafficking. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Socioeconomic factors, absolutely. See, the trafficking happens with mostly the lower strata of society, mostly poverty, poor people, illiterate people, unemployed people those who do not have a strong background, like father is a drug addict, mother is passed away, many things, many things. Especially they target people, those who are very, very vulnerable, and someone who cannot fight back.
Socially, they are socially and economically both, they are from the back end of the society. So of course, that becomes an additional burden for them to kind of manage their lives, right?
Yeah. So it is very difficult, it is very difficult because right now it has started taking a toll on me also, because I see only negative and sad things. Sold 20 times, sold 15 times.
Oh my God.
Who sold off? I have rescued the survivors over the years. So some of the case studies I did not remember. When I met them this time again, I always get mentally traumatized because somebody's father's elder brother's sold off, somebody's aunt has sold off, somebody's brother-in-law has sold off, somebody's sister-in-law has sold off. Like, it is so difficult, because see, just imagine staying in Delhi, Bombay, or Bangalore. How will somebody know that a girl in this village is vulnerable?
Right.
It is possible only when somebody from their own area does it, right? I have till now not found anybody. Parents have sold them, but I have always found people whose extended family members have sold them.
That's bizarre.
There's this survivor of mine. She was rescued when she was 13. I told her father not to marry her. They married her when she was 14. Now she's 17. She has 2 children. Her husband did not know that she's a traffic survivor. Now when he got to know, he divorced her.
Oh my God.
He has ganja, he has drugs. Now she has 2 children and she's 17. We bought her 6 goats.
6 goats, okay.
Goats. Yeah. But how long can she sustain with those goats? It's
really
tough,
sad.
It's very, very tough. Yeah, it's very, very tough.
These are very disturbing stories. So finally, Pallabi, before we let you go, what advice do you have for parents and caregivers who want to keep their children safe and from trafficking and abuse? And how can we better educate ourselves and our communities about this issue?
See, the first thing is that, all of us can give birth to children. But how many of us can actually take care of the children? Maximum cases where I've seen trafficking happening is because of no attachment with the family members. The emotional attachment is not there. So the child gets lured with other outside factors. Please spend time with your children. Please talk to your family members. The reason for trafficking is not just, poverty, unemployment. It is also, the bonding. I've seen nowadays children of very good families are being trafficked because the family do not spend quality time with their children. They give expensive phones, they give smartwatch, they give laptops. Please understand, nothing can you know replace the love and affection of a family. That's very important.
So true.
And always, always be agile. Do not trust people. We all trust people so much. We share so many stories. If you're talking about the maximum number of children who are being abused are in their families, I've seen. We talk about girl sexual abuse. How many times do you talk about boy sexual abuse? When I take trainings with boys, they cry their heart out and tell me that, ma'am, we have been abused. They have been sexually abused. So it's very painful. So it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a real problem.
Yeah, I can completely empathize with you and understand, what you must be going through while rescuing them. It's not easy, Pallabi, and hats off to you. Well, before we wrap up this episode, listeners, I want to leave you with some food for thought. Human trafficking is a global issue, but it's not insurmountable. It is a problem that thrives in the shadows, but as we have learned from Pallabi, awareness is the first step towards this change. Remember, every person has the power to make a difference in combating human trafficking, and your actions do matter. Together, we can and we will be the voice for the voiceless, the hope for the hopeless, and the change that our world so desperately needs. Let's stand united against human trafficking. Again, thank you, Pallabi, for joining us on this journey. It was really inspiring.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, listeners. Thank you for tuning in to Aspire and Acquire, where we shed light on the heartbreaking issue of human trafficking. We have learned about the unimaginable challenges these young lives face and the urgent need for our collective action. Instead of offering a bonus recommendation, in this episode, we have an appeal to make to all the listeners. If you have been moved by what you have heard today and want to help combat child trafficking, please consider making a donation. Every contribution, no matter how small, can make a significant impact. You'll find a direct link to Pallabi's donation page in the show notes. Your support will go a long way in providing resources and hope to those affected by this heinous crime. Together, we can be a force for good and help protect vulnerable children. Please click on the link in the show notes and donate what you can. Let's join hands to create a world where every child is safe and free from the horrors of trafficking. Thank you for your generosity and compassion.